What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. We're going to be looking at every knife that came out this year that I really liked, but instead of doing every knife, because there's quite a few here on the table that you can't see, we're going to be looking at everything 150 and under. Let's get into it. All right, guys, so I know I'm doing this a little bit differently today, and there is a purpose behind that, I promise you. There's just too many knives to award it to just one knife that I really, truly like above everything else. I mean, that's just an impossible ask of me to choose. So what I've decided to do instead is just hit two different price points. So I know budget knives on this channel are 100 and under, but I decided to go up to 150 for this video so that I could probably group it a little bit more evenly. Having said that, let's go ahead and jump into the knives. First up is going to be my very first neck knife that I've ever picked up, and that is going to be the Kaiser Muskrat. This was still on camera. Move that out of the way, move that up a little bit. I really like the Muskrat a bunch, and it comes in a ton of different variants. I do have the most affordable. I got this out on a holiday sale, and Kaiser does sales frequently enough where you can probably pick this up after watching this video, but it's a nice 4-finger knife, D2 coated and stone washed. You got G10 handles here, are really well done. I like the crosscut pattern. It kind of brings up the appearance of this a little bit, making it a little bit more friendly aesthetically, I think. And it came with a nice fold over sheath, really good retention, has a little push off spot, and I can comfortably get 3.5 fingers on here. And I like this for opening packages, cutting loose string, just light duty tasks, nothing really heavy. You know, occasionally you'll be able to use this to break down a box if you needed to break like 1 or 2 boxes down. It's definitely going to do that for you. Great cutting geometry, great weight, and the build quality on here is really nice, and the D2 seems to be treated very well. Let's move on to the next one. All right, the next one, still sticking with the pocketable fixed blade EDC, is going to be the mini Harpoon. I like this one a lot. I still haven't found a lock that I really like, a tech lock that I like that is going to allow me to scout carry this one, but I'm still looking into that, and hopefully I find something soon. 3V blade steel, you got Topo G10 with contoured scales on here. I can get a little bit more of a grip on this one. I can get almost all 4 fingers on here. This one is very thin and slicey, definitely feels like a skinning knife. So perform all of your tasks really well. I would actually say this would be the start of the size where this daily you could definitely hard use. You can break down a bunch of boxes. You can cut through dense materials with this one with ease. The 3V has held a very good edge, and I do use this more EDC than I do my actual neck knife. I like this one a lot. I almost debated flexing this one into the pocket carry with a pocket clip, but I really want to try to scout carry this one. Fold over taco clip here, or fold over sheath here, that works really well, and you can neck knife it like I said. But what I need to find, if I want to scout carry this one up and down, I need to find something with a little bit more width to it. These are just a little bit further apart, or I would have to add my own hole to use this one here. The way that this would work though, if I did go that route, I would probably just lose this bottom clip. Actually, no, I probably would lose the top clip. These can be pushed out, and that way I can use it and put the belt up here and clip it that way. So I haven't decided if I'm going to do that, but overall very happy with this one. And coming in, I think these start at around 40 bucks and go up from there depending on the blade steel that you want for this one. All right, guys, the last one, and the one that I actually main pocket carry in my actual pants leg pocket, is going to be the Asher Knives Little Buddy. And you can see on this one, it has the pocket clip that you can put it in pocket and retain very easily. Fold over pocket sheath as well, or fold over sheath, that I like very much. You do have contoured G10 scales on here. You can get it with 3V or S90V. Still a little dirty from where I was using it here recently, but this one I really like the most because I get a comfortable 4-finger grip. The contouring on the scales make this very hand-filling, so very comfortable ergonomically and a super useful drop point blade shape and a little bit of a thicker blade stock, so definitely tougher and going to be able to do some heavy-duty, hard-use tasks with this one with ease, no problems whatsoever. I promise this is the last of the fixed blades. All of them come in at under 150, so a very affordable option. And I think this one here, I think all of them are very nice looking, attractive, very well done. But this one here, my favorite for pocket carry. All right, let's kick it off with the folders. First up is going to be the CJRB Alt Pyrite. This is an absolute killer of a deal, especially if you pick it up when they're running one of their sales. Coming in at under $30, RPM 9 blade steel, plunge button lock with FRN scales and full solid steel liners internally with a reversible deep carry pocket clip, and the tuning on these have been very, very good. I will say when CJRB first came out, it was kind of hit or miss. Sometimes you would get one and it would be kind of vanilla as far as the deployment, would be a little soft. This one feels very satisfying. I'd give it a solid 7 if I was grading from 1 to 10 on this one, maybe even 7.5. Doesn't feel soft at all. The action on it is very nice. Now, at this price point, it's not a PVD coating. It is just a coated blade. So you can see the use here has worn away at it. You may or may not like that. If you don't, I would just recommend going for the uncoated blade. For me, I like a little patina look on there, a little worn look. It looks kind of cool to me. I can get a 3.5 finger grip choked back, and it's very comfortable going between the first and the second knuckle there, choking up. Very, very comfortable. But if this is a little too small for you, at a slightly higher price point, you can get the new CJRB Pyrite XL. This is a very nice hand-filling knife. You got contoured scales just like you do on the Pyrite. I can get 4 fingers on there. You can still reverse the pocket clip. You still have a lanyard hole. They did add with the larger size a lock, which I like because I think this makes it a little bit better for a hard use scenario. You don't have to worry about accidentally hitting the button and it disengaging. You have to be deliberate with the disengagement and engagement of that lock. So you have to do that intentionally. It feels very different than it does with the plunge lock when you're using that. The detent, they did a good job with the tune on this one. Very satisfying to deploy. I would again give this about a 7.5. It feels very similar to the small one for sure. You still have that large forward choil here that you can choke up on with plenty of room left over to choke up between the first and the second knuckle for any task that you would want to move up on. I would probably still move back for anything where I was cutting through something dense just to be away from the blade's edge, but very easy to control. And I didn't mention this, excellent pinch grip on the Pyrite Light. Still really good on the large if you have larger hands. This is going to be really nice for you, and I like the fact that you have options with the 2 of these. So great price point too. With the coupon, when I picked this up, it was under $50. I really don't think that's anything that you can snicker at for RPM 9 solid steel liners with FRN scales, reversible, and a lock with a larger size. These are really great options, 2 of my favorite at the lower end of the budget this year. All right, moving up a little bit in the price bracket here. These, when they first came out, were around $80, but towards the end of the year, which is when I picked this version up, they were $65, which I think is extremely reasonable. This is more of a bug out sized EDC, more medium, so very tight for me, 4 fingers moved back, and then a little snug between the first and the second knuckle choked up there. I'm a little close to the blade's edge, but for cutting tasks where I would be doing light to medium duty, I feel comfortable there. I'm not too concerned. And then choking back through denser materials or breaking down a bunch of cardboard, it would still be comfortable moved back. Now, it does have a great blade shape on here, nice thin geometry. 14C28N from QSP is always done well. Just drop it after you're using it heavy if you want to keep a really fine edge. If you just want the working edge, it'll hold that for a good amount of time. I like the approach that they went here for the super deep carry reversible clip. It's off the back and it is recessed down there so it doesn't protrude out in any way, shape, or form. Quarter length back spacer here made out of steel. I'd like to see that made out of aluminum to match the bolsters here, and to lighten it up a little bit. I also would like to see them make the relief cut holes a little bit bigger to lighten this one up at this size. It's a little heavy as it sits now, but again, I think if they just made those holes a little bit bigger, it would help with the weight reduction for sure. QSP has definitely come out swinging with their crossbar locks. The geometry on this lock here, the way that it locks into place, it's more straight up and down. So when you go to disengage it, it is very, very sturdy. I noticed it more so on the Ripley than I did on the Vault, but the Vault was my favorite because I feel like this could flex into gents carry. I think it's an appropriate size for everyday carry. It's going to flex and it's going to be more versatile for folks with small and medium hands and still work with folks that have larger hands. Just a really, really well built piece, and this Justin Lundquist design really speaks to me personally. I like the looks of this one a lot, and I think for that price point, you're getting phenomenal value for money with this one. Next up on the list is going to be the Vasti Hedgehog. I really like this one a lot. It comes in 154 cm or S35N, and I think both of those are at 160 or less. Now, I've included it because I know the 154 cm one is like around that 130 price point, and when they run a sale, you can pick up the Hedgehog under there, or you can use a discount code and get it a little bit less. So it is kind of pushing the limit here for what I intended, but I really do like this one, and I would highly recommend the 154 cm version for sure. And it also has their top liner lock. I think this is a very exciting lock. It gives you a true detent ball, which helps make this more secure when locked. Definitely has a better retention than a plunge lock. Definitely more satisfying to deploy as well. Multiple means of deployment here with this one, which I really like with this. Now it is a little bit smaller, but it really still works for those larger hands. I am right up against the edge between the first and the second knuckle when choked up, but I don't need to choke up to get four finger grip on here. I hang forward a little bit when I'm on the landing pad. Perfect cutout here for the middle finger, and then my ring and pinky finger land on here comfortably. So I like this a lot. A little bit of a thicker geometry from the factory, so it feels more geared towards hard use. Steel liners in here, obviously, with that top liner lock, which works like the compression lock. It seats between the stop pin and the blade tang, and it has the detent ball on there to lock it securely. You can get it with aluminum or micarta as well, and it does have a filler tab with a reversible pocket clip and lanyard hole. A lot of positives here. Ceramic bearings in the pivot, so very smooth action. Strong locking mechanism. Just a great knife. I would say this is great for primary EDC and also going to be a nice companion carry because it is small enough for that. Let's kick it over to the next one. All right, getting down to the last two, I am throwing the Ankylo on here, guys. I really like this one a lot, and again, that 154 cm version with the aluminum scales coming in under that 150 price point. I think the LMAX with the aluminum scales a little bit higher, and you can catch them on sale. So I know that is a little bit of an asterisk next to that, but we'll say for the intent and purposes of this video, the 154 cm version. This one has that new pivot lock. I also like the fact that Vasti always gives you multiple means of deployment. I think that is a really neat thing and a nice adage to have onto the pocket knife feature. This one here a little bit thicker because of the pivot lock, so it feels more hard use, more work knife than it does EDC, but it works perfectly fine as an EDC. I do like that they have the lanyard post up here, but I think it's a little bit of a miss that they didn't just use the standoff screw for the pocket clip and bring this up. I don't like the position of this at all. They need to move this up on a version 2 or something like that. But I really like this pivot lock a lot. When this one came, it was a little too lightly tuned, and I did notice on the shilling cutter that it was better tuned. I might lighten this one up just a little bit. I think I went too far because thinking about how, you see, if you skip off of there, that lock is pushing so hard that it won't just smoothly go through. You got to do it with force every time. So, that's a little bit of a medium deployment, and a medium deployment. But if I try to go light, it won't go because the tension on there is a little too strong. So I might need to tune it up a little bit, but I like how clean the pivot lock is. You don't have a plunge lock and you don't have a lock bar actuator for a top liner lock. It's integrated into the pivot. So I think it cleans it up a lot. That pocket clip just really grates me though, as much as I love this. Now I will say it does not affect me when I'm using the knife, doesn't poke or puncture into my hand to make it a hot spot. I just kind of feel that it's there. You know, ironically, it lands in such a weird spot that it's actually kind of in between any sensitive spots on my hand for the size. But I just wish they would have just really gotten rid of the lanyard post and just make that the standoff, and they could have pushed the pocket clip all the way up. I mean, you can see that when they did that on the Hedgehog, they were able to get it up further. So even that little bit of difference, I think, would aesthetically look a little bit better. Forgot to mention, I like the frag pattern that they're doing on here. It's not like a full frag, but just back here where you're gripping. I think aesthetically that looks really cool. But that is the Anilo. Let's get to the last one. All right, the last one for me is definitely got to be the Kuby Supercell, designed by Tempest Knives, which is owned by our friend KC over at Knives Fast. You get the 14C28N. By the way, I think Kuby has by far, hands and away, hands down, whatever you want to call it, the best heat-treated performing 14C28N out there. While I do like the 154 cm options a little bit better from Vasti, I will say that I have a very high level of respect for the 14C28N coming from Kuby, without a doubt. I really like the design of this. It was tied between this and the Tempest for my favorite design from Tempest Knives, the Fractus. I think I said the Tempest, the Fractus. And I still am a little bit torn, but I really just like the looks of this one. I think it's a very nice design, very comfortable ergonomically, a nice full 4-finger grip. You got little subtle texturing here on the scales. You got a very easy to remove filler tab for that reversible pocket clip. You have an inset liner lock on here, which makes it very friendly for lefties out there. You'll be able to use this with no issues whatsoever. You have multiple means of deployment. The reverse flick is really well tuned on here, and I really like the flipper tab, though it does feel a little bit lazy. I haven't decided to tune up the lock bar on this one, but it still works. I have not failed it. It just feels like it's not quite as snappy. I think it releases just a little bit too early, because when I go to go soft, it falls out a little bit. Great lock bar access. I like the stamped bearings on here. They work plenty well. I decided not to upgrade to skiffs, just leaving it as is. But this works well for EDC. Great hard use. This feels like a nice user because it does have the titanium a little bit more upscale, but good geometry on here. Feels a little bit more robust, not quite the sliciest one out there, but still slicey, if that makes sense. It feels like there's a balance being struck here, where this is meant to be able to withstand some abuse, but still be able to cut really nice. So I do like that a lot. Definitely my favorite Tempest for sure at that under $150 price point. But let's bring them all out here and wrap them up. We have the Kuby produced, Tempest designed Supercell. We have the 154 cm version of the Vasti Anilo, which I really like the lock on that one. We have the top liner lock on the Vasti Hedgehog, and there are other knives out there. These are just my personal favorites this year. We have the QSP Vault for the folders, and then we have the CJRB Pyrite, whether you want the XL or if you like the original. I really like those. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a couple of fixed blades out here. We have the Muskrat and we have the mini Harpoon. So these are all of my under 150. Oops, I forgot my astronauts, little buddy. These are all my under 150 knives that I like, that are under $150. The majority of them under 100, but a few were over that price point, and I didn't want to exclude them. And I really just like this format because it it takes the pressure off me of having to pick one when there's so many good models out there, and there are definitely a lot more models out there that I did not include. These are just some of my personal favorites. Doesn't mean that there aren't others out there that I enjoyed or liked equally, but let me know what you think, whether it's under 50, under 75, under 100, or up to 150. Down in the comment below, what was your favorite release this year? Is it on the table? Did I include it? Did I exclude it? Sound off down in the comments below and let me know. If you like any of these, I do have affiliate links down below. And when you use them, it does help the channel, so thank you for that, but that's totally up to you. Special shout out to my channel members. Love you guys. If you enjoyed the video, definitely hit the like. I am out of here, guys. I'll catch you next time. Have a great week. Peace.